Alright, good evening everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Danger Zone Reviews. I'm Devin Dunnigan, and today I am back and I'm going to be ranking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. So, total of 8 movies in all, with a 9th coming out either the end of this year or sometime next year. But for the most part, a solid franchise, I would say. I enjoy most of the movies in this franchise. Some more than others, of course, and you'll see in this ranking, but a very diverse franchise. That's probably an understatement. I mean, you've got sequels here that have very little to do with the one that come before, but at the same time, the only connective tissue in the entire franchise is the first movie, because just about all of the movies, except for the 2 reboots, are connected back to the original. So, I'm just going to go from my least favorite to my favorite here on this list, and you may be surprised at the ones I pick. I don't know. So, let's get started here. So, my least favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is the 2017 Leatherface. So, there's the back of it if you want to see it. This movie is just not good. And this is probably the only one I can flat out say I dislike in the entire franchise, because to me, it's just not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I mean, the beginning and the end is, but the middle part is trying to combine the Devil's Rejects and Natural Born Killers into one movie, and then sandwiching Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning and the end. And it just, to me, it does not work. I know that the writer, Seth M. Sherwood, I believe is his name, Seth M. Sherwood has said that his overall objective was to do something different. And I respect that. I do respect that aspect of the movie. But to me, it's just a dull mess. And I'm just not a fan. I've seen this movie once and I'm really not interested in ever watching it again. I watched it halfway, or probably not even halfway, probably just the beginning once, and was not interested, and then watched it in its entirety all the way through a couple of years ago, and I was just like, I don't enjoy this movie. It's not good. So that's my number 8. So my number 7 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. I'm not even sure what years these movies came out in, because there's so many different cuts of this movie that were released in the 90s. I believe it was 94, 95, and 97, if I'm not bad wrong. I do know that they released a version in the early 90s, and then they re-released it in the late 90s, edited and recut, due to the success of Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger. This movie is okay. It's not a horrible movie, but it's just not one of my favorites. It's not one I go back to. I mean, the acting is pretty horrible in the entire movie. The only person who does remotely well in the entire movie is the guy that's quoting historical figures and stuff like that. That was the only person in the movie I thought was interesting, but the rest of it was just not interesting at all. And I don't know what else to say about it. I like the movie. We're getting into movies I actually like now, but I mean, of course, it was intended by Kim Hinkle to be the legitimate sequel to the original, and originally there was supposed to be characters from the original in the movie, and it just never did happen. But regardless, it's an okay movie. It's not perfect. It's not great. It's definitely not high art. The acting's hokey, hammy. I mean, that's all I can say. So that's my number 7. My number 6, Texas Chainsaw 3D, or just Texas Chainsaw. This is the DVD copy. I don't own this on Blu-ray. So this is not a bad movie. It has a lot of issues. In particular, the timeline is so screwed up on this movie. I mean, saying that these people are not in their 40s and it's 2012 or 2013 in this movie, and the original took place back in the 70s, that's very, very weird. And Adam Marcus wrote the original version of this, and he said it was supposed to be a period piece, and that a lot more of the stuff that's in the movie was supposed to make more sense, but the movie got modernized during the production, so it then turned into just kind of a generic slasher movie of the 2000s. But I do like it. I think it has interesting pieces to the movie. I mean, having his lost relative in the movie, and then she's discovering that she's a member of the family and what the family is. And I mean, I thought the guy who played Leatherface, I believe his name was Dan Yeager, he did good. I thought he was fine. The effects were kind of all over the place because, I mean, it's KMB, and KMB are a great effects group, but the CGI was a little bit too much on this movie, I will say that. But it's a good movie. It's a pretty cool movie. So that's my number 6. So number 5 is the Platinum Dunes reboot. I don't consider this a remake because it's different characters, pretty much except for Leatherface. And I like the movie. It's way too long, and it does get kind of boring, but it's not bad. But overall, I like the movie. I don't watch it very much. It's okay. But, I mean, they could have took probably 30 minutes out. The whole mobile home scene, they could have taken out with the little kid. That whole little kid part, they could have taken out of the movie. I mean, he kind of went nowhere. He was just kind of, I guess, in the place of the hitchhiker, and, I mean, it just didn't work. I mean, and plus, when Arlie Ermy comes and gets the body out of the van at the farm or whatever, that could have been shortened down. So, I mean, I like the movie. It's my number 5 for a reason, but it could have been a lot better. So, my number 4, this one right here. I'm a big fan of this movie. Probably didn't show the back of the reboot, but whatever. You get the gist. I like the remake, but this movie right here, I love even more. This, to me, is what the reboot should have been. I mean, it's more gory. It feels like a chainsaw movie, and I really enjoy it. So, that's my number 4. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. So, my number 3 is Part 3. I need to get this on Blu-ray. The uncut version is where it's at. That, to me, is by far the best version of the movie. I really, really, really enjoy this movie. My number 3. My number 2, Part 2. I love this movie. A lot of people hate on this movie. I love this movie. It's insane. It is crazy. It's a masterpiece of insanity, and I love it. I love Dennis Hopper in the movie. Caroline Williams is awesome. Bill Moseley's awesome. I love it. And what can I say? I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. One of the best sequels ever made. I love it. So, my number 1. What other one is there left to talk about? The original. This is a number 1 movie for a reason. I love this movie. It's very tame compared to what a lot of people think. A lot of people say, oh, it's like this bloody, brutal piece of film, and it's not. it's a classic slasher movie. I can't say much more about it because, I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said? So, there you go. So, that's it. That's my ranking of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.